Hi everyone. Some students are having a challenge, finding it challenging to copy the layer, the shapes into the other area on the template to change the key from high key to low key. So I create a little composition here in high key variations of the color, and now I want to select all those shapes. Now, some of my shapes were above my mask and guide layer, so they were up here, right? So one gets absorbed in the work and things become moved around without realizing it. So I just want to keep everything consistent so I can see what I'm doing in my layers panel, and I'm going to hold my command or control key down and select each of these layers, making sure none of them had been selected individually ahead of time. Now I'm going to use the copy paste, control C, control V, and see how I've pasted it. Waha, that's great. So now I can move this into position, and I want it to be aligned the way this other one is aligned, so my composition is close. So what I did when I designed this one was check by opening and closing my mask and guide layer to make sure that some of them were aligned, just evenly, so that I could then place them. Now, when I release those, you can see now I have rectangles again, right? And these ones are the ones that are selected. So my first group of rectangles here are my high key variations. Now I can start by selecting rectangle 1 here, get my move tool, and you can see it's already selected because as soon as I grab my move tool, it selected that one. Now what I can do is pick a low key variation of my color for the background. And I'm going to use a darker value in the background too, so I have to make sure that I keep checking that. But I'm going to select a color, okay, and then what I do is click on that tool, and then I have to go in and change the color this way. So now I'm changing the color of that one. Oops, don't want to create a new one. That can be, that's one of the annoying things I find about the software now, is you have to be really careful to you keep getting the other tools selected, rather than you have to click on the background in order to release that one and get something else. And then again, I have to select the color. Now I'm in my low key version here, so I'm just going to make some variations here, and I may go back and change these bits at a time, but I'm moving from my high key variations to my low key variations. Then I have to select the background. Nope, click the background. You have to select something else, then click on the background, then click on the background. So it gets to be a little bit challenging to do it this way, but then you want to go through and change all of the colors into the low key version. Now, just to show you what I did here, I'm going to go into this layer, take my marquee tool, because that's the background layer here, take my marquee tool and select the shape of the background that's going to completely fill the background area, right? It'll hide beneath the layer, and then find a low key variation of my color, or maybe I'll go for something a little bit more into in the intermediate or gray down range. Use my paint bucket tool, fill that, and you see that's behind the shapes, so that kicks it into the lower key range. Now if I'm not satisfied with that, I can make that even darker, and I'm going to have to keep adjusting the colors as I go to make sure I get contrast. But notice, because I'm already in that layer and I've already filled that section, I can fill that again and it works just fine, right? So I can keep doing that and then go through, select each one of my colors individually, and continue with working in the lower key to intermediate key range of the color, changing it individually one color at a time until I get the color scheme that I want in the low key. So it takes a little bit of time. Now this obviously is a super high key color, so you can't take any shortcuts here. You've got to really select each one of these shapes individually, or you could select them in the panel here. That helps whichever way you want to do it, selecting each one of these shapes and then changing the color to an appropriate low key variation of the color or intermediate low key variation of color, whatever you want, whichever you want to do, to really make some contrast. And at the very end, you've got to check for contrast in the grayscale mode.